Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now, I don't usually do reviews, but I thought in this case I would make an exception as it is Star Wars, and I think, to be the first review that I do, I think The Last Jedi makes a good subject. I thought I'd just give my 2 cents. Pence? 2 pence? I thought I'd give my opinion on the new Star Wars movie, which I went to see last night, and I thought I'd just discuss some of the things that I thought about it before we go into looking at what other people took from it, other people's reviews and what they think about it. And before all the fans go crazy and devising new theories and whatnot about what happened, I just thought I would get my thoughts out there first. So let's have a go at that. Now, before I start, please bear in mind this will be a heavy spoiler review of the movie. I can't stress that enough. If you haven't seen the movie and want to keep it as a surprise, then leave now, because I'm gonna talk about some really big things that happen in the movie. So, last warning, spoilers. Ready to go. Okay, so I want to say overall that I really enjoyed the movie. I thought, it wasn't exceptional, I would say, and I guess as a Star Wars fan we can be overly critical about what happens, but overall I would say it was good. There were points in it that were good, and also some bits that were a bit, let's say, not so good, but I want to say overall I enjoyed it. For me, the best part about the whole film was the relationship that they brought up and developed between Rey and Kylo/Ben. That whole connection with the Force, I think, was a really strong foundation, and I wish they'd done a little bit more with it. But for me, that was kind of the centre of the movie, and they could have kind of pushed it a bit more, I think, just to get a bit more out of it. But overall, it worked well. There's also some good character development for Poe and Finn. Finn gets a love interest, or another love interest, depending on how you see him with Rey, and Poe has to learn a bit from Leia about being a leader. Those are all pretty good. I feel the only thing I feel about this movie is I feel like with other ones that we've seen, you get a distinctive 3 acts, beginning, middle, and end. And I felt with this one, I kept kind of not looking at my watch, but going like, where are we in this movie? Are we coming up to the end now? And it got to that point where you kind of have, I guess, the second act. You could call it the second act, where they're on Snoke's Star Destroyer and the fight throws down, which I'll talk about in a bit. But then the only reason I knew that was the second act was because I'd seen the trailer and I knew we had that big speeder battle with the walkers and things coming later. So it was hard for me to tell exactly where we were. The whole thing kind of felt there was no bridging fact to call it a whole movie. It was more, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, But having said that, I think we're just going to talk about a few of the little bits that happened in the movie. They certainly played into... in the fan base, there's a lot of theories that get thrown around. As soon as the movie comes out, we get a ton of theories on the internet. Who is this? Who is that? And they play with that, especially with Luke Skywalker's first words. Rey stands there, she holds out the lightsaber, she's going... It's finally after 2 years, we see Luke take the lightsaber and then just throw it away. It's a great thing to play with fans' kind of... not emotions, but... you're expecting some kind of poignant thing, and he just doesn't give a shit and throws it away. I think that was great. The other bits, also big spoiler, the other bits are everyone was kind of going, oh, who is Rey's parents? Is it Luke? Is it someone we know already? Is it Obi-Wan? There's hundreds of theories out there, especially on YouTube. You can delve right into it, but whether they were lying or not in this one, I don't know, but they all outright say, your parents were nobody, you are a nobody. And I thought that played quite well with where they were in the movie, because the relationship between Rey and Kylo is, reaches that point where they do have a connection, which I really like. They had that connection, but they're both not at the point where they can choose either way, and they each feels they have to choose their own way. And I quite like that. You know, it would have been nice if they had teamed up, but story-wise, they have to stay at those opposites. That kind of brings me on to Snoke, because one of the other things that was kind of keeping all the forums alive was, who is Snoke and what is his deal? I thought it started pretty well. You know, you see him in his throne room, you know, where you got this guard, you know, he's all magnificent, kind of reminiscent of the Emperor, you know, all of that. They give him some good exposition. You learn something about how he acts, but then, you know, in the end, he's killed by Kylo. Saw that coming a mile off. I don't think anyone should have been surprised about him turning on the lightsaber. It was, but you're still left with, who the hell was he? Whether they address that in the future, but I still feel like we should have known. They should have told us who he is and kind of how what he had to do with the First Order, because we're still none the wiser. And it felt like, okay, yeah, you need that overarching bad guy. Is kind of the whole core of Star Wars there, but who the hell is he? Really, I don't know. He's just some old dude, really strong with the Force, apparently, and yeah, they kill him off about halfway through the movie. So it was just kind of left me like, what, who, how? Okay, yeah, you now need Kylo to take up that mantle as being the big bad guy. But it just felt to me like entirely underplayed. Speaking of underplayed, Phasma. Oh god, you know, it's got such potential to be a good character. You know, it's always marketed as like the new Boba Fett. You know, I love Gwendoline Christie and I love the character, but she didn't turn up for like 3/4 of the movie. She kind of turns up right at the end and they have a fight, and then evidently, from what we've seen, she dies. You know, somehow she escaped the Starkiller base in The Force Awakens, but this one looked pretty final, to be honest. Whether they bring her back, I don't know, but it's just so underused, it just kind of pains me. Now I'm just kind of jumping around here where my mind's going, just as I'm kind of remembering and piecing together the movie, but I did enjoy Luke. You know, she gets to him and he's totally disinterested in everything. You know, I think we all expected him to be kind of like, oh, someone's found me, blah blah blah. But I enjoyed the fact that he was disinterested and kind of scarred by what had happened. And I enjoyed that flashback. You got a few different flashbacks to the Jedi Academy that he had made, and what happened there when he was standing over Kylo. You know, turns on the lightsaber, and you get the two sides of the story, and you can see why Ben became Kylo Ren. I would have quite liked to have seen a bit more of that academy. You know, you only see it kind of at night, or you know, and the same pictures of it on fire that we saw before in The Force Awakens. But it would have been nice to see more of what was happening there before it kind of fell apart. And I guess they may address it in the future. Again, we don't know, but we got that flashback to Kylo, you know, and the Knights of Ren before in the rain, but we didn't really see any of that again. And I don't know, that whole bridge between the Jedi Academy and Ben becoming Kylo Ren, it still isn't there. I just felt it was something they should have addressed. Again, with sort of cameos, I really enjoyed the Yoda cameo. That, for me, was also one of the highlights of the movie. You know, Luke is set on destroying the last bits of the Jedi, the tree, the books on the island, and Yoda appears and it looked a bit funky at first. I wasn't quite sure, but then it kind of settled into Muppet Yoda, which I really liked. You know, he kind of bobs across the screen, and it's still evidently powerful, even though being dead. You know, obviously the Force goes one with the Force, whatever. But he summons that lightning and it strikes the tree. You know, you think, damn, he's still got it, even though being dead. And I love the little dialogue that they have extending on some of the things he said before about you have to pass on not only the good but the bad. I guess that's a whole theme around Star Wars, is there being the balance between good and bad. And you know, they're playing it with this in these ones with Rey and Kylo. You know, as Kylo gets stronger, as Snoke says, as he gets stronger, the light rises up to meet him. You know, and Snoke expected that to be Luke. It's not, it's Rey. You know, thematically, that I'm enjoying that whole sense of light and dark within. It's been across all the movies, but I'm quite enjoying it in this one. We get to see a few cool new places. You've got the weird sort of Monte Carlo casino place, or Las Vegas, whatever, with all the different things going on there. You get Finn and Rose on their own journey. They're trying to find the code breaker. There's one thing that's really getting me though about these. It was in The Force Awakens as well, and in this one, is that in Star Wars you have classic Star Wars species, Rhodians, Weequays, whatever. You know, you see them. They used them in the prequels, obviously in the originals as well. I've yet to see any of them in these new movies. You know, I just want. You've got scenes like whether it be a bar or a casino, whatever, with lots of aliens. Yes, we need new aliens, but there's sort of podium kind of species throughout the whole previous films, you know, and you just seeing a Rhodian there, it would remind you that it's Star Wars. And that's one thing that, yeah, I just can't just put one in. It would be there, it would be nothing to do, but it would just remind you that it was Star Wars and have that connection to the other films, which I feel they just need to do, and it's not being done. The other big issue about this film, I guess, was the inclusion of Leia, obviously, because Carrie sadly passed last year, reportedly having shot all of her footage for this movie. I feel like perhaps, again, we might find out later, but I feel like perhaps her and the other general's role may have been kind of merged. I don't know, because there are definitely a few scenes with Leia, like the bridge. You know, Kylo attacks the bridge, although it's not him that blows the bridge up. The bridge blows with Leia in it, and she ends up outside in space. And at that point, I was like, oh, they did this early. Like they just got rid of her early. She's gone. Like, but then no, she does her. She wakes up in, you know, sort of unconscious outside in space and pulls herself back into the bridge, and is then out of it for a long portion of the movie. And I'm wondering if that was scripted or if it was just part of them trying to cover the fact that she had died. And there was definitely a few bits in there that I thought, again, maybe rewatching it later on DVD, but when Poe's on the bridge doing the mutiny and he's going to pilot the ship ready to take it to hyperspace, the bridge blows and it's Leia there. She blasts him, stuns him out, and something about that from my memory was just a bit CG, and I'm wondering whether that was because they needed it to be her, but they were covering for the fact that she died. I don't know. Again, that was unexpected, because in this one you got Han Solo died in The Force Awakens. With this one, I was entirely expecting Leia to die by the end, just because of the passing of Carrie Fisher. But they kind of went the other way with it. That's what got me. They kill Luke essentially, although he's not murdered per se. He becomes one with the Force, disappears. I guess he could come back in the next one to guide Rey as a Force ghost. That would be nice. I think they probably will. But yeah, that was unexpected, and it's whether they may have been splitting up Carrie's footage from what she shot for this one, just to use some of it in the next one. That's what I was wondering. Yeah, it felt like her parts weren't quite what they intended, and I'm just guessing that's because she passed away. So with The Force Awakens being, it's been highly likened to A New Hope, and I know George Lucas wrote the saga to be like poetry. Things mirror each other all the way through, especially with the prequels, as well as him matching that up. I entirely expected as well parts of this movie to mirror parts of The Empire Strikes Back, and of course it does. You start with the evacuation of a planet. It's very much the same, but of course at the end they kind of split that, so that at the end you get like a walker assault battle on a base. Some of those shots, they have the trenches and the guns out front, all the people manning the trenches, guns going up. That's all obviously very much reminiscent of the Hoth battle, and you've got the speeders and the walkers, and you get the whole feeling of the movie is quite similar to Empire Strikes Back, but granted, it does stand more apart than, say, The Force Awakens did. It didn't feel like they just copied the movie like arguably they did with The Force Awakens. I felt like it mirrored but didn't copy, so I was quite happy with that. Like I said before, the best part of the movie for me was the Kylo and Rey relationship. Of course she then goes off to meet him because she thinks she can save him, much like Luke does with his father. He thinks he can save him, she thinks she can save him, but then Kylo thinks he can turn her. You get the murder of Snoke, like I said, about halfway through. For me, this was like the best part of the movie, was that whole dynamic they had there, and then of course Kylo kills Snoke, and the guards attack the Praetorian guards, the guys in the red armor. I really liked those guys. I think a lot of people are probably going to be wanting to cosplay as those guys, but that fight was really good. That was like the best part of the movie for me. They have the whole fight and they beat the guards, and then Kylo's like, join me, come with me. She essentially says, no, I can't do that. They fight over the lightsaber. The lightsaber hovers in the middle, they're fighting for it. Lightsaber splits, it goes. I guess that's kind of also reminiscent of The Empire Strikes Back, in that the lightsaber it's the same lightsaber. It's the Graflex one. It's the same one that's broken, it's lost, but we see at the end Rey ends up with the pieces of it. So she can, I'm guessing in the new one she's going to build her own lightsaber. That'll be interesting to see whether they go with like a staff weapon, like she had before. That'll be interesting. Again, on the battles, of course get the Luke's one at the end with Kylo, and that whole thing with Luke appearing at the base at the end was something tweaked in my mind, obviously, because it turns out that he is a Force apparition or whatever. He's projected himself there, but I hadn't clocked that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I clocked that, but something had twigged in my mind. It was off. Something was off about him. Like, firstly, how did he get in? They said that no one could get in, and he got in. But then he looked like how he was. He had the long grey beard. He had the long grey hair, and when he appeared at the base, he almost looked like the Master from Doctor Who. He had a dyed blacky brown beard. It was short. He had short hair. He was wearing some weird black hoodie type thing, not dressed how we'd seen him at all. I was like, it's one of the things you kind of go, okay, it's different, but I buy it. He walks out and Kylo gives the order to blast him, and he takes all that fire. They kind of joke, oh, you think you got him? But then he actually is still there, and you think, oh, that's quite something. I buy it. Like, okay, Luke is strong in the Force, but something's a bit off. I'm buying into it, but it's slightly off. And then, of course, it's great with that fight. You get Kylo come out and do his stance. You know, the lightsaber goes on. Luke inexplicably has the graphics again, something else to twig. But I quite enjoyed Luke's almost Matrix-like abilities. You know, he backs off and then he kind of spins on the floor, just buying them time to escape. Back on the creatures again. I did, you know, I like the new. Not saying that I don't like the new. I like the new creatures that they did. I thought the porgs were great. Again, Star Wars is a bit synonymous with, you know, it's marketing for children. Obviously, the porgs are designed to engage with that kind of side of it. But I did find them funny. I thought the crystal, I don't know what they're called, but the weird crystal foxes, I found them a little bit unnecessary. They were sort of like the Loth Wolves in Star Wars Rebels, but done just a bit worse. It's like you didn't really need them in there. They could have done the whole escaping the base another way. But yeah, they were quite cool. You definitely had the weird other inhabitants of Luke's island. You had the weird creatures where they give an explanation for the blue milk. It's arguably obscene in the milking of these animals, and yeah, I'm not quite sure why they did that, but again, it's quite funny. And also Rey's interaction with the care, I don't know what they're called again, but the caretaker species who look after the island. That's pretty funny that she keeps breaking everything and disrupting their lives. So yeah, I think that kind of creature creation is good. You know, you create like some iconic ones to use, but then throw in some of the old ones as well. You know, it makes much more sense to do something like that. So there we go. Those are my initial thoughts on Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Like I said, I saw it last night. I may go again. You know, I'm not one to usually see movies lots of times. You know, I don't need to keep going again. I remember quite well. Obviously, there'll be things that I don't remember and may think of after putting this up. But overall, I did enjoy it. Some good points. You know, the Kylo Rey relationship, the lightsaber battles were good. The other battles were good. I enjoyed the characterization of them all. On, you know, some bad bits was just kind of like the structuring of the story. A few unnecessary characters and just things that they're just more niggles than criticism. But again, could I make a better Star Wars movie? No, but you know, we have the right to say what we think about something that they've made. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe should you want to see more of things like this. I've probably got a few more videos to give to you guys this year. But hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Bye bye.